Okay, continuing in the Aaron thread, next up is John Curran, the president and CEO of Aaron. And he's going to talk about the transfer market, right?
Good morning. So obviously, we're a very popular topic here because you've put us on the last day, at the last presentation. I already see people's updates at the airport, having fun, looking forward to returning to Vancouver. So hopefully the people who have left are watching us remotely. I welcome any opportunity to present before NANOG, regardless of time slot or day. So what I want to do is I want to give an update on IPv4 transfers because a lot of people have heard of these but don't have a lot of detailed information. First, here's what's been transferred so far. These are parties who have paid to transfer their rights to address space to another party. The recipient must be qualified, must need the address space. This is almost all of them. It updates pretty frequently. You'll see some /12s there, /14s. Some 50 some odd prefixes have transferred. Again, the party that has the address space transfers it to someone who needs the address space. The one who needs it, under our present policies, up to your 2-year running demand based on your run rate is what you can receive. Now this is interesting because, well, we're running out of address space in the region, but we still have it. We issue address space once you qualify. So the idea that we're willing to give you address space, but instead you went out and bought the rights to someone else is kind of weird. Now, a couple of details. We issue in 90-day increments, and we put you through a lot of work to qualify to get 90 days worth of your run rate. And then you come back in 90 days and you do it again. That's a lot of work. Some people think that it might be worth instead going to the market. Additionally, 90 days, 90 days, 90 days, at some point you're going to come and we're going to say, we're out, sorry. You can transfer up to 2 years of address space. So for some people, that means something. If you're building on a network, you want to number the entire network, not just the half that you got built in the next 8 months. So being able to get the address space and do an address plan is useful. There are some people who have learned that there's this new thing called V6. I say on World IPv6 launch day. But forgot that they had to plan for that and think they need a little more room with V4 before they take the plunge. So we do have people going to the market. It's interesting because really this is opportunistic based. The people who have V4 address space who are making it available are one predominant category: organizations in bankruptcy. If you go into bankruptcy, you sell off your patents, your routers, your equipment, your office chairs. Many Airlon fine office chairs have been gone through bankruptcy and purchased by many fine companies. Okay? Fact of the matter is that you sell off everything you can. Aaron has ended up in a number of bankruptcy court-related transfers, which actually is a lot on the prior page. The one we all heard about was Nortel, what we call Nortel 1 in Delaware, involving a bunch of address blocks. Public information, you folks know this went to Microsoft. Aaron was notified about it, and we said, I'm sorry, we can't approve this because it has to meet our policy. Luckily, we were able to get to Microsoft, and Microsoft did qualify, and all the orders were modified, and then the transaction was approved. Borders, there was transfer from Borders when they went into bankruptcy, Technology Corporation, Northern Telecom Canada. Nortel's actually 2 bankruptcy estates, one down here, look at that. One here and one down there in the US. And both of them are in bankruptcy court, both are busy doing transfers. So there are transfers going on, predominantly bankruptcy estates. We have never been ordered to update the Aaron database contrary to community policy. So I will tell you, if you qualify, we will update the database, we'll process the transaction. If you don't, well, you have some interesting theories, and there's court systems for that, and I look forward to seeing you in them, and I'm very experienced doing that. I got no choice. We're going to run the database according to the policies you guys set. So why wouldn't we approve a transfer? Transfer to a party without any operational need. The hypothetical hedge fund somewhere says, I'm going to buy these because they look valuable. Transfer to blocks other than the actual registrant. Someone says, this is the address block, I've been assigned it. And I'm like, well, really, you don't have any proof of that, and that's not what the registry says. We have that happen occasionally. A lot of those people are innovative bulk advertising companies that have creatively discovered that there's an address block that they can assert ownership of because it was registered to Bill Smith, and they find a Bill Smith in that town, and they get a copy of his driver's license, or they get that guy to agree he was the one that's, anyway. It's not theirs. We find out. We say no. Requests to transfer block sizes smaller than minimum. A court in New York transferred a /32 from a bankrupt party to another party. A couple of problems. First, below our transfer size. Second, it was part of a provider-assigned block. It was literally out of the middle of an ISP. We go to court. We explain to courts what's going on. They amend the orders. We've had great success here. Requests to transfer blocks larger than needed the recipient. This happens occasionally, and this is the unfortunate one because everyone's trying to do the right thing, and someone says, I really want that 14. That'll clear us for 2 years, and this way I don't have to worry about running out next year. And it turns out they don't qualify for 14. They qualify for 16, and that's kind of ugly because there may be a lot of paperwork. There may be a lot of lawyers involved. There is a way to solve this. You can come to us at any time, and we'll tell you what your run rate is and what you can transfer. We can actually give you that certification up front. But if you do it after the fact, there's a risk. And then requests to transfer blocks outside the Aaron region. The Aaron Advisory Council, based on the discussion of the community, did recommend a policy. The policy got edited in last call, so we held it over for consultation, which we held in Vancouver, actually, and that was completed. That policy, plus an additional policy to change the NRI transfer policy to have certain protections. So once you transferred, you couldn't go get more space and do it again. All of those were recommended by the AC, and actually in this morning's board call were all ratified. So we will actually have in the next several months a inter-RIR transfer policy that's implemented, and that will probably change things a bit because a lot of the people worried about this stuff are presently in the Asia-Pacific region where they ran out. We have not run out. We are going to run out. We're actually seeing an increase in IPv4 requests. I expect right now we're probably on an early 2013 or summer 2013 run-out schedule. But the fact of the matter is that it could be sooner, it could be later. But parties outside the U.S., like Asia-Pacific, have been dealing this with a while, and they've been waiting for these policies to be adopted. So this is presently why that last one's going to go off the list as long as the other region approves the transfer. Okay, transfer facilitators. There's people helping out with these transfers. They're called facilitators. They agree to Aaron's policies. There's an actual website where you can see the list of all the prefixes that have been transferred, but you can also see those who are pre-qualified to receive a block, or those who have a block that they're saying they could renumber out of if they were paid. There's a listing service. We make that available so that if you want to pre-qualify, or if you want to list something on eBay, you use the listing service. The information in the listing service isn't public because you don't want to have a university list its address block and get the local newspaper doing 35 interviews and 10 articles about it. Parties want to be discreet. So the listing service is available to those in the listing service and facilitators. These folks can help you out. They know Aaron's transfer policies. We have a robust transfer market going on. It is limited by need, but it's robust, active, and growing like mad. That's it. Questions?
I believe we have a question. Randy.
Randy Bush, IJ. Could you go back one foil?
Yes.
Well done. Do I recognize a name on the right-hand side that's a member of the advisory council?
Yep.
Is that a conflict of interest?
Potential conflict of interest. Actually, I want to be very clear here. You should ask that person whether it's conflict of interest. The AC.
They clearly think not.
The AC.
I don't need to ask them.
So one of the reasons you might be listed as a facilitator and pay $100 a year is to just get an understanding of what's happening. By signing the agreement, you can see into this. You can't use that publicly. You have to keep the information confidential so these people won't find themselves, people listing blocks that won't find themselves publicly listed. But there are people who have said they want to be a facilitator solely to observe this market. And that could apply in this case. Okay? The AC has asked the same question. But Randy, it's a point well taken on the face.
The phrase in my family is, do I smell cows?
Do you smell cows about what? I would ask you to ask the people in question. That's all I can say. Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
Dan, AS 13768.
Yep.
Just with these new policies that you guys had ratified, is that going to make a big difference on when IPv4 depletion takes place? And if it doesn't, so you're saying it's not going to make much of a difference at all?
It should not.
Because there is the potential that a lot of people with a lot of money over in Asia could wind up buying a lot of IP blocks, and that could perhaps change when IPv4 is exhausted in North America, affecting sort of when we need to adopt IPv6.
Yep, there is a window where a lot of people could get interested in address blocks, get them from people today who have address blocks in the region. Therefore, the people today, a year from now, could qualify for more address blocks, could come back and try to get the last sip from the depletion jug as it's running out. Actually, we're probably within the window where we're going to run out anyway right now. These are transfers that have to come from people who already have address blocks, and they don't requalify to get more until we're probably out in the region.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Yes, over there.
Sandy Murphy, Sparta. I have a couple questions.
Sure.
I'll twirl around the microphone and come back, I guess. You have the hosted service that's open to members, and they can request that you produce a certificate for their resources and sign a ROA. Can they request that you issue a certificate for someone to whom they intend to allocate a portion of their space?
No. Our RPKI services for addresses held by people in the region that are currently the holder of those addresses.
Okay.
Okay?
You've talked about, this was about transfer, and Mark talked about working on the transfer policy and how that will be played out in the RPKI. I understand the inter-RIR is, the policy isn't firm yet and you're working on it. Will the policy be the same in the ARIN region as it is between regions, or will there be...
Let me be clear. So the inter-RIR transfer policy was considered by the community, recommended by the Advisory Council, and ratified by the ARIN board, like I said, right now, this morning, will be an implementation of the inter-RIR transfer policy. Inter-RIR transfers have some interesting implications. First, this thing called DNS. DNS has inverse DNS, reverse DNS, was not based on the idea that you could slice an address block at any given boundary. And so the in-adder management and how that happens needs to be paid attention to. The RIRs need to work that out. Additionally, RPKI is the same way, obviously. You slice off a piece of RPKI space and you want to issue a cert to it. It's possible now there are 2 RIRs involved in the certification path. So we actually have to come up with an architecture for that. And because the RIRs are knowledgeable, but we're not totally knowledgeable, we also have to get folks from the IETF to look at that, folks like Randy and yourself, to make sure it's understood.
There are no 2 RIRs involved in the certification path.
So the question that comes up is, if a block that is currently served by 1 RIR has a /8 level managed by an RIR, has a /24 transferred to another region, does the certificate for that /24...
The swing point is the IANA.
Right. So document...
I can't help it if you can't get your politics right.
Oh, sorry. So thank you, Randy. So what we'd like to do is we'd like to document how that happens and the swing points and get it in front of the IETF so they can say, yes, this is
I did that 4 years ago.
Yes, Randy. You're a resource to the community and truly wonderful. Now we'd like to get the RIRs on the same page as that and get approval for it, okay? It is a political issue, as Randy notes.
So obviously, if I have an interest, if there are RPKI architectural issues that need to get worked out, then the IETF would
The last time I
like to
checked,
participate.
the last time I checked, the RIRs had committed to documenting what they proposed to do and bringing it to the IETF, and that was
great.
2 months ago.
Thank you. There was a time many years ago when there was a lot of discussion about how transfers would work in the RPKI, and so I know that there are lots of issues there.
Yes, indeed.
And the last question, just wanted to make sure there was no one behind me. The last question, did I hear a projected time that the RPKI would be in production mode of early next year?
I thought that wasn't, I was talking about transfers. That would have been a Mark's presentation.
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
sorry.
so the answer is, though, that we are having a lot of work being done, particularly with respect to RHSM and non-repudiation,
Yeah.
and this is causing our dates to be at risk. We do intend to have hosted RPKI. We're trying to aim for that to be out shortly, like this summer.
Oh, the delegated. Okay,
The
so I
delegated
misunderstood.
might take a little bit of work. We're trying to keep that within the year, yes.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Thank you.
Martin.
Yes.
I think I'm the last person. Martin Levy, Hurricane Electric. Today is World IPv6 launch, and I noticed you talking about transfer policy, but it is, it's only V4, it doesn't have V6.
Right.
There's a phenomenal amount of V6 space. The transfer market could be enormous. I
Yes.
think that the whole policy should be updated today because it should be V4, V6 compatible. That's just a comment. Thank you.
Wonderful. Actually, this came up because one of the things that happened in the Aaron region is discussion of ASN transfers, and there's a policy that was recommended for that and adopted. So if you can transfer V4 numbers, you can transfer ASNs, why can't you transfer V6? You might need to work to make sure when creating the unified field theory of number transfer that you handle all the details. And so I don't know if the community wants that or if the AC will pick it up, but if you do, www.aaron.net, put a policy proposal in.
Thank you. And in the spirit of this question, I should point out earlier when you mentioned that you mentioned about bankruptcy and whether a /32 is transferable. Again, you were not V6 compliant on that statement.
That's right. Thank you, Martin. Yes, a V4/32. Okay. Anything else? Okay. Sorry to take time about V4 on World IPv6 launch day. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Thanks to both John and Mark, and a lively discussion that followed, so thank you guys. Next up, we have Betty Burke, who is the Executive Director of NANOG, and she's going to wrap things up for us and talk about things to come. And Patrick will be with us as well, so